All right, today we're digging into something a little different. It's a fascinating and, yeah, completely fictional script that imagines our world just a couple of years from now. A world where the race for AI isn't about better code or faster chips, but about who controls the power. Let's get right into it.
So, right out of the gate, the script hits us with this really powerful question. It's framing this whole thing not just as some tech evolution, but as a huge shift in the market. It's basically saying, hey, all this chaos you're seeing, it might not be random. It might be the start of something big. Okay, so before we go any further, just a super important disclaimer. Everything we're about to talk about comes from a speculative piece of writing. It's a thought experiment, right? This isn't a prediction, and it's definitely not investment advice. We're just here to unpack the ideas inside it. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to weigh out the premise of this so-called energy war. Then we'll get into the problem it presents, this AI energy monster, and the wild solution, a floating power plant. We'll even look under the hood at the tech, view it through a special PPP investment lens, and then wrap up by asking what this story might tell us about our own future.
Okay, so what's the big idea here? Well, the central claim in this script is a real game changer. It says that the fight for AI supremacy stops being about who has the fastest chip and starts being about who has the most secure source of energy. The whole battlefield has shifted from silicon to watts. Now, to really get why the script solution is so compelling, you first have to understand the problem it's trying to solve. And believe me, it paints a picture of a massive, massive problem. By 2026, AI has become an energy hog on an unprecedented scale. In this story, the AI systems of the near future have evolved into what the script calls energy monsters. And their appetite for electricity? It's not just big, it's literally the size of a nation, and it just keeps growing. And this really puts it into perspective, right? We all know ChatGPT and other models today use a lot of juice. But this scenario imagines a future where a single AI operation could use as much power as an entire country. That is the core, game-changing problem that this whole story is built around. So the obvious question is, why not just build more power plants? Well, in this 2026 world, it's not that simple. The script says traditional grids are just hitting a wall. Renewables like solar and wind, they're great, but they're not stable enough for these AI beasts that need power 24/7. And finding the land for massive new projects, forget about it. So, the story suggests the only real option left is to go back to the most dense, reliable power source we've ever had: nuclear. So, if you've got this energy monster that the grid can't handle, what do you do? Well, the script introduces a really cool, almost sci-fi solution, and it comes from a company you definitely know. And here it is, the hero of the story, the power barge. I mean, just picture this for a second. A massive, self-contained nuclear power plant that floats on the ocean. You can literally park it right next to the giant factories that need all that energy. It's clean, it's stable, and it's delivered right to your doorstep. The thinking here is to create what the script calls an energy shield. By putting the plant on the water, you completely bypass the land use problem, and you get a direct, unwavering stream of power, which is absolutely critical for something as sensitive as making semiconductors. This gives you power security, which, in this world, is the ultimate competitive advantage in AI. And this is the absolute key pivot in the whole story. For decades, the race in semiconductors was all about process technology. Making the transistors smaller and the chips faster. In this 2026 scenario, that's not the main event anymore. The real winner is the one who controls their own energy. Okay, so we've seen this incredible floating fortress of energy from the outside. But what's actually going on inside? Let's take a look under the hood at what the script calls the vital organs. It's a great question, right? Because the barge itself is really just a big metal box. The real magic, the actual value, comes from the incredibly complex systems that are packed inside it. First up is this term, BOP, which stands for balance of plant. The easiest way to think about this is, it's basically everything except the nuclear reactor itself. It's the plant's nervous system. All the pumps, pipes, cooling systems, and controls. All the essential gear that keeps the reactor running safely and at its best. The second piece of the puzzle is the HRSG, or Heat Recovery Steam Generator. This thing is a work of genius, and it's all about efficiency. Nuclear reactors produce a colossal amount of waste heat, and HRSG basically says, nope, we're not wasting that. It captures that heat, uses it to make more steam, and boom, generates even more electricity, essentially for free. It's a huge force multiplier. So you can see how it all works in harmony. The nuclear core makes all this heat.
The BOP systems are like the traffic cops, managing the whole process safely. And then the HRSG comes in as the master recycler, making sure not a single drop of that energy goes to waste. It's just a super efficient loop.
And I think this quote from the script just nails it. Samsung might build the body, the giant barge itself, but it's other highly specialized companies that provide the heart, the lungs, the brain. They're the ones building the vital organs that actually create the energy, and that's where the real value is.
All right, so we get the technology. But now the script shifts gears and asks, okay, if you were an investor trying to navigate this new world, how would you do it? And it actually provides a whole framework for thinking about it. It's called the PPP framework, and that stands for politics, performance, and protectionism. The script presents this as the lens you'd need to cut through all the noise and figure out who the real winners are in this new energy-driven world. So let's break that down. The first P, politics, just assumes that high tariffs and global tension are the new normal. The second P, performance, argues that if your technology is just that good, so good nobody else can match it, then you'll win no matter what the tariffs are. And the third P, protectionism, focuses on how this push for energy sovereignty creates these huge protected markets for local companies. And, you can definitely see echoes of that kind of thinking in the real world today. So after walking through this whole wild scenario, the energy monster, the power barge, the vital organs, what's the big takeaway? What are we supposed to make of this thought experiment? Well, the script actually gives us a little pop quiz at the end to reinforce the main idea. It asks, what device recycles waste heat to maximize efficiency? And of course, as we just learned, the answer is number 2, the HRSG. It's a clever way to hammer home how important these hidden, vital organ technologies are in this imagined future. And really, that's what it all comes down to. Look, the power barge and the 2026 energy war, it's a story, it's fiction, but the question at its heart is very real. As AI's hunger for energy continues to explode, figuring out how to power it all is becoming one of the most important challenges of our time. So the real question for us isn't in a script, it's right here. What is going to power the next generation of AI, and who ultimately is going to be in control? That's something we're thinking about.